Hey YouTube, it's your boy Magnificent. We're here today with Jared. Jared is a unique story. Now, you guys have heard of stories of SEALs going to playing the NFL. You've heard of these folks that have had incredible backgrounds before, and then transforming their skills and experience into something vocational. Here's that story with Jared. He has an incredible background, and you're about to get blown away. So I'm not going to steal his thunder. Jared, first, let's start off. Let's tell us what your background is. You know, how did you grow up, and how did you get to where you are?
Okay, I grew up kind of in a small rural area.
And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude oil, that is black gold. Texas.
Lived on a farm.
So a little heads up. One thing we noticed, Oilfield, all ranch farmers, they're incredible workers. So keep going.
So I graduated high school. I did construction for a little while, and then I went in the fire service. Worked for the fire department for about 16 years. I was a captain there, firefighter, EMT.
So if you saw him on the magazine flexing his pecs, that was probably him.
Left the fire service and come to work out here in Wyoming in the oil field.
So this is a big question. A lot of folks leave the comfort level of their homes to come to the oil field. Now, I mean, you have a decorated background. Guys, this guy was almost a chief, right?
Yes, sir.
Why did you leave the fire service? What led you towards this direction to the oil field?
Well, mainly money.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, give us a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so in the fire service, nobody does it for the money. It's more of a lifestyle than a job. So, but yeah, it was tough on my family financially. And after 16 years, things wasn't really changing. So I wanted to try to make a better life for my family, give more opportunity for my kids. So I had a buddy that lived out here and worked in the oil field, made good money. So thought I'd move out here and try it out.
Commitment, guys. So it's not bad to want to do more for your family. And so if you're listening to this or watching this, you love what you do, but you've thought about it, wrestled. You need to do more for your family. Your family deserves more. It might be the time for you. I'm not saying it is, but let's listen to what else happened. How exactly did you get in? You just went online, you did the basics.
So I had a buddy that worked for the company that I work for now, and he kind of put in a good word for me. They were hiring, went online, filled out the application.
So a little note, have a good reputation so your buddies can put a good word for you. I've had people who wanted me to put a good word for them, but if you were a boss, you wouldn't hire them. So don't be that guy. Keep going.
Yeah, and then so I filled out the application and got the interview. The interview pretty much sealed the deal for me. They liked my background of being a rancher, being in the fire service, and they also liked how long I had worked there. That I wasn't a job jumper.
Absolutely.
And then saying the right things, having the right attitude and the right answers during the interview helped
Absolutely.
a lot.
So you get in the oil field. So let's talk about this. I'm just throw this question before I forget. The best part about being in the oil field. Best part. I know there are advantages and disadvantages, but what's the best for you?
I would say the best part is, well, besides the money.
And let's just break it down. Folks are wondering, what are paychecks looking like? I mean, how many hours are we getting typically, and what is that? Just the real deal paychecks looking like on a regular, slow, and then if things are just cranking?
Well, right now we're busy, so I mean, I'm getting somewhere between 140 to 160 hours a week.
And what does that look like on a paycheck every 2 weeks?
So gross, I mean, it's close to 9,000 to 9,000 every
That's not
2
bad. You could pay a couple of bills off with that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And when it's slow, what are we looking at?
Slow times, minimum checks are probably 80 to 90 hours a week.
And what does that look like for check-wise, 2 weeks?
I don't know, because I haven't had them.
Okay.
Is opportunities for advancement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a advancement driven person. I like to learn new things and work my way up, and having that opportunity to advance.
So that ambition, so you can satisfy your ambition in the oil field today.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's not crazy booming like before.
Oh yeah.
How do you? Maybe this is a perfect segue to get into it. How do you separate yourself? How does the cream rise to the top? I mean, do you have to stab someone, throw them under the bus? I mean, you've heard all the stories, right? And that does happen, right?
Yeah.
But how does an honest guy that's ambitious get to the top?
Well, so far, I mean, I haven't been here very long.
How long have you been in the company you're at now?
I started early May.
Okay, it's just literally just a couple of months. Okay.
Yes. So, and I've already been promoted, and there's plans for me to promote even more here in the near future that they've told me about. So,
What sets you apart?
At my attitude, probably my attitude and work ethic, which they told me that the reason why they want to move me up as fast as possible is my positive attitude, my can-do attitude. And
this is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
and taking whatever they throw at me and being able to do it without complaining or working with what I have. Whatever they give me, I make sure it works.
So not throwing trash at them for not, which we'll say it right now. In the oil field, is it disorganized, organized?
No.
Is this it's organized chaos, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you got two kinds of people. One person, he just spits at them and talks how bad they are organizing and how things would be better if they did this, which it might be true. But then you have Jared who, hey, they throw something at him last minute. How do you respond? What's your response compared to someone else's?
Well, I think a lot of my response and attitude is built from the fire service because we had to deal with, a lot of times you have to deal with nothing. You get things thrown at you midway through taking care of a task. Things change and you have to completely reconstruct.
Copy
so
that.
I'm used to that. So, and the oil field's is similar. So it's easy to get frustrated because you'll have a plan to accomplish a task, and midway through things completely change. Things break down, things get taken away that resources you thought you had, and you just got to make it work. And so having the attitude that look, we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna make this happen for us. We're gonna make it happen for the company. We just got to do what we got to do,
regardless of the situation, circumstances, the lack of tools.
Exactly.
You're gonna get it done.
I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to get a job done. We're here to make money, and so if you worry about more about getting the job done than selfish things, wanting it your way or having to have it a certain way, and just getting the job done is the main thing. Just having that positive attitude.
So let's kind of address this right here. One of the things I've seen is maybe a differentiator with successful and unsuccessful people is there is the employee mentality. Then there's the, I don't want to say self-employed mentality, where people feel entitled. Hey, I'm just an employee. If you don't give me all the things that I need, if the stars don't line up perfectly, I'm not getting the job done. Whereas you mentioned earlier when we were talking that you have a self-employed attitude, that this is almost as if it's your own business. How does that attitude change how, quote unquote, someone who's just an employee thinking affect the results?
Well, from the area I come from, it's jobs are hard to find. Pay is terrible. The economy's bad where I live, so it's kind of a cutthroat world there. So you have to be at the top of your game all the time to keep your job and to move up. So if you complain, if you're worried about selfish things or whatever, I mean, you're gone. Somebody's going to replace you. So and I was taught at a young age from my dad to, no matter who you work for, you treat their business like it's yours, and
Absolutely.
you'll always be successful.
Hint, hint, if you have good parents, this is the time to make them proud, because what you do is what they taught you. You're a reflection of them. Keep going.
If you always look at it, like if you're faced with a situation out here in the oil field, if you got to get a job done, and you treat it like this is your company, if you make the right decision and get the job done, the company's going to benefit from it. If you do what's best for you and not the company's going to suffer from it. And so in return, I mean, if you make things happen for the company, if you make the company successful, they're going to make you successful. They're going to recognize that. And I don't do it for myself. I do it, I do it for the company, because as long as I'm taking care of them, I know they're going to take care of me.
Absolutely.
And if they don't take care of me, then yeah, I'm probably going to look for somewhere else to work. But
Sure.
Up to this point, they've taken very good care of me because they see my attitude and my can-do attitude and my positive attitude about approaching problems and situations. Because if you always view it as, if this is my company and I needed to make it happen, this is what I need to do.
You would treat it differently.
Oh yeah.
This is awesome stuff. If you have, questions for Jared, throw them in the comments below. Just because if you're going to be in the oil field, can we say it's safe to say you might get frustrated sometimes? But let's address the issue of anger management. It happens in the oil field. A couple different scenarios. What are the challenges you see that happen, and why does it happen? Do you have scenarios where you got crews of 4 or 5? You're in cement, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 people. What have you seen go wrong? And how do you maybe manage that from going worse?
Most of the time, from what I've seen, the anger problems, the I guess negative situations that I've seen people get into, most of the time they stem from a communication problem.
What do you mean?
So just say 2 employees having an issue amongst each other, or maybe somebody in the field with management in the office, or whatever the situation is. It's because things aren't properly getting communicated back and forth.
So let me kind of skip gears and kind of tackle what we talked about. Let's say you have a real scenario, a person who they're passive aggressive. They are good at what they do, but they have trouble expressing themselves. So they find it when, even though they want to address the situation, they get really nervous, panicky when they get in front of the person. And this is real, right? There are people that are like this. How, if you're in that situation, you're that kind of person, how do you really get your kind of challenges addressed without exploding?
It's somebody's character to be able to, have patience and be able to control your anger and stuff. Sometimes you have to work on that internally to be able to overcome that. But I think a lot of times, when we're not communicating with one another, we fill in the gaps of information we don't know, and
make assumptions, you mean?
Yeah. So if we're angry, we're gonna fill in those blanks with negative things. We're gonna assume that person's singling us out personally. We're gonna assume
they're out to get you.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
if you try to put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, why are they doing this? Are they backed into a corner? Is this the only options that they had? And maybe they're not personally coming after me, but this is the only decision they could make from what they had to deal with. So try to put yourself in their perspective to understand why they're doing it, because it may not be singling you out.
So you're saying seek to understand, instead of just trying to.
And most of the time, that's where I see problems, is you have somebody in one position or one title that has a job to do, and somebody else in a different position and title and a different job to do, and they don't understand each other's jobs. They don't understand each other's positions. So that's where all those assumptions come in, and that's where they get angry and mad. So if you'll try to put yourself in their situation and understand what they're going through, a lot of times it's going to be directed away from you. You're going to realize it and personally come after you.
Sure.
And so I think a lot of times, if you can put yourself in that, you're going to be able to calm down a little bit. You're going to maybe not be so angry, and you can think more about what you need to say to explain yourself and your side, and go approach that person.
So no matter what, there is no getting around approaching the person. You got to approach the person.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to communicate at some point.
So there is no way around just kind of being silent, hoping it goes away. Is that ever going to work?
No.
So let's kind of
switch
gears here. You personally, one of the things that happens is haters. Haters exist everywhere, even in the oil field. How, especially someone like you that's risen so quickly, how do you avoid from taking the negative press you get? Because there's the office and then there's the field. And you get haters from the field of people who maybe they think they've been there longer, but because you not only do what you do well, but you know how to lead people, right? How do you kind of address that and kind of manage that?
Well, I had a guy tell me right off the get-go, I think he kind of recognized that I was here to be accomplished and not just stay the guy at the bottom. And he told me, he warned me, he said, there's going to be people that they're going to get mad at you. They might like you now, but they're going to get mad, and they're going to talk crap behind your back because you're going to move up fast here. And so he said, but here's the thing, you've got to worry about you, and you've got to be you. Don't let that change your work ethic.
Don't let it question your personality
Yeah.
or make you question yourself.
And he said, you know, there's going to be guys that's been here a year that's not going to be where you're at, but you can't worry about that, because if they haven't got to where you're at in a year, it's because of something they've done. They don't have the work ethic, they don't have the attitude that you have, and so you can't worry about not, you know, stepping on people's toes. You've got to be you, and don't let anybody change that. And that really helped me, because, you know, I do worry about getting along with everybody and being a team player, and that kind of put it in perspective for me. I look at it, if somebody is aggravated or somebody did get past, I pass somebody up, it's not a competition thing for me. I'm not trying to be in competition with anybody here. I want to see everybody move up and be successful.
Who you're in competition with?
Myself.
That's a nugget, guys.
You know,
it's you against you.
Yeah, you got to focus on you being you and let them be them.
Now let's switch gears. You are on one end. How do you handle challenges on the management side? So you're a person who you're trying to go up, and unfortunately you feel management is letting you down. How do you properly address that? Because you've experienced, as we've discussed before, there was such a thing called a Peter principle. Maybe you can kind of address that, how people are good at what they do and exist in the oil field, but they're terrible managers. And because they've been doing what they've been doing for so long, or they're good at it, company feels they could just put them in a management position. How is that bad, and how has that affected you, and how do you overcome that?
And I have been in management positions in previous jobs, so I mean, I've definitely managed people before, and in my opinion, to be a leader, you have to be the #1 team player. So I mean, people look at it as being a boss, you know.
So it's not the one that swings the hammer the best, that necessarily runs the equipment the best, because there's this idea that you have to be the best equipment operator to be the best manager. Is that true?
You can train anybody to swing a hammer. You can train anybody to run the equipment, and you can get them proficient at it. But it's hard to train people to be natural leaders and be natural, you know, that team player. You know, that's something that you really have to work on. If you're not that team player, you have to learn how to work with other people, and you have to make sacrifices. I mean, it's to be the #1 team player, you can't be selfish at all. I mean, you have to worry about the other guy and your crew that you're working with. And so if I was going to pick a leader, it wouldn't be the best equipment operator. It wouldn't be the best guy that can swing a hammer. It would be that guy that everybody's looking up to, the guy that they rely on to make things happen.
Which, ironically, would you agree that usually is the best equipment operator? Usually is the best hammer swinger?
Yeah, most of the
typically,
time.
But not always, right?
Yeah, because
so
he takes pride in what he does. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Management, we kind of addressed it briefly. If you're having trouble on the top side, you just feel like you're being pressed down. Obviously, there's always talk. You can always come, but you feel it's just talk. If you go say something, you're that guy. You're either going to get that backlash. How do you handle that?
My recommendations on that would be, first of all, don't ever approach management with a negative attitude. Always go in, try to calm yourself down. If you're angry, try to calm yourself down, be level-headed, and think about what you're going to say before you get there. Even if you have to write it down, write the topics down that you want to cover, because you're going to get frustrated in there. You're going to get sidetracked and off subject, and you're going to leave there and go, man, I forgot to mention this. But always approach them in a professional way. You know, approach them like you would want to be approached. Try to think of their perspective, what they have to deal with, and what they have to deal with it, the resources they have. Always try to put yourself in their shoes before you even approach them. If you and don't ever tell them how to do their job. You know, put it, when you go to address them, don't address them like you're trying to tell them how to do their job.
So would you say, like, suggestion, hey, can I suggest?
Yeah.
The way you will kind of preface what you're going to say is key.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, like you said, management, people get promoted when they really didn't need to be promoted, and because they were good at a skill and not leadership. So if you do have some leadership ideas, if you have some leadership training, then take that to them and teach it to them in a way that's not offensive.
And can I throw out there, if the truth is you are a better leader than who is the incumbent, the person that's there, you got to take into account situational awareness that they may be a little insecure.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it'll be like if you're really, really good at a certain sport, you have to take into account if maybe the basketball hoop is broken. That has to be part of your shot, right? You can't be shooting as if this hoop isn't broken. If the person and you notice has insecurity, you got to address that. Exactly. Treat them with kid gloves. Don't just go at them, you know, with fists up, right?
Exactly, yeah, and that's what I mean by, you know, really tiptoe around about offending them. If you're good at what you do and you've had a lot of training and you have a lot of confidence in being a leader, that confidence that you have, and don't confuse confidence with cockiness, but
right. That
confidence that you have a lot of times is intimidating to people right. who don't feel confident in their job. So right. If you intimidate them, that's definitely not going to be a good conversation. So try to go in there humble.
You don't want to kiss their butt, right?
No,
There's a difference. No. Just don't go out of the way to
be humble.
Yeah, be humble.
You know, and try to go into it with a let's solve this situation instead of, hey, you're screwing up and this is how you're messing up.
Right.
You know, so go into it with hey, let's fix this and I'm here to help you fix it. You know, here's the problem. Here's what's going on. This is how I feel about it. How can I help you fix this?
Beautiful.
You know, and with that kind of attitude, people are way more willing to work with you than putting their guard up. If you go in there and offend them right away by telling them you're doing a terrible job at doing your job, and all these people are suffering from it, I mean, they're going to throw their guard up. Absolutely. You're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get backlash.
Fight or flight response. It's just human, right? If someone puts your back against the wall, you would have your fist up. Just so people know, what do you do? Just kind of detail it. What exactly is your job?
So I work for a company that does cementing for oil wells.
Is it different than concrete? People think that they're the same, like at home.
Oh no, they're different. It's different. Totally different.
And where is this process in the whole getting oil out of the ground?
So as they drill the hole and set their casing, we
casing is a piece of pipe that goes inside the hole they drill, right?
And we cement between the casing and the well bore.
What's the purpose for that?
Well, one, it holds the casing in place, and two, it seals off the formation so that you don't have stuff leaking into the well.
So all those things you hear about the natural water getting in people's pipes, so his job is critical. The hardest thing about the oil field?
The hardest thing, if you're a family guy, you don't see your family a whole lot.
At least in the cement side?
Well, yeah. I mean,
and what's a whole lot? Let's kind of break it down here. What's a normal schedule?
Well, our schedule is actually 15 and 6, so we're on call for 15 days and you're off for 6. During the average time, you'll probably get that. During busy times, if you're like me, you work your days off a lot. You might get to see your house once or twice a week for a few hours.
And how do you manage that to not have your family fall apart with the schedule you're keeping?
Just every time we have downtime in the field, FaceTime the family.
So it takes work. You got to actually work at it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you definitely have to constantly work on your marriage. And you have to be in a good place with your marriage and your family before you get in the oil field.
So that's one thing to say. If you're in a bad place in your marriage, the time and the constraints against that might not be a good idea.
Oh, definitely. If you're struggling in your marriage, do not get in the oil field. It's not going to work out either way. You're not going to be successful in the oil field. You're not going to be successful at home. So, but yeah, my family's kind of used to the long hours because fire service was similar to this. It's gone a lot. So,
is there a career where maybe you see that there's a light end of the tunnel where maybe it's not as long hours? Eventually, with your work ethic, you'll be rewarded with maybe something that's more office related.
Oh yeah, definitely. So promotions in cement world, you can move up office positions. Typically, you have more time off. It's a salary job. You're not working hourly. So yeah, you get it's a different schedule.
Awesome.
You see a lot more home time.
Awesome. Any last bit? Three pieces of advice for anyone coming out, and we'll close.
3 pieces of advice.
Best advice. Someone's looking to come out.
Treat any job that you take, especially in the oil field, like it's your company. Like you own the company and you want your company to be successful, because in return that's going to make you successful.
Awesome.
Always separate professionalism and personal. issues. Like don't ever let your work be personal. Always address things professionally. And
just so we know, like if you had a bad day,
yeah. So separate your personal life from work. Like
don't be mad at your buddies and your crew because someone kicked your dog.
Yeah, like and vice versa. If you have a disagreement at work with the coworker, and you get into it, don't take it personally. It's about the job.
Copy that.
So when the job's over and you're at the truck stop getting something to eat or whatever, sit down and be buddies again.
Copy that.
And don't hold it against them. The third thing is if you're married, is to continue to work on your marriage and your family.
Maybe harder than you do in your job.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, because this jobs come and go, hobbies come and go. Your marriage is forever. So,
and next to truckers, guys, oilfield work is the #1 divorce employment arena. So if you think just by default you making money is gonna solve all the problems, it won't. You will have to work hard. And have you seen that in your life? Have you seen the transition?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and if you're happy at home, if things at home are good, you're less likely to get angry at work. I know this video is more about anger. So if things are good at home, they're going to be good at work, because you're going to be able to approach things with a positive attitude. If things are bad at home, everything's bad.
It's incredible.
So,
good stuff, man. Awesome nuggets. This guy, he is the equivalent of a Navy SEAL in the in this arena because of his background, which again is a lot of leadership, and there's a lot of lack of leadership, not only in the oil field but everywhere. So hey, Jared, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Any comments, guys, put them down below. Jared will be available and he'll be looking at this periodically so you can answer questions. That said, Magnificent signing out.
We make the streams
louder.